corporate life for three pretty specific reasons: money, security, and professional development.
Let's talk about why I decided to return to a 9-to-5 job after being a full-time digital content creator.
This is me quitting being a full-time content creator. Hi, I'm Rachel. I've been a full-time travel content creator for years and
is content creators going back to a corporate job setting, so like a 9-to-5.
And by an influencer who is not an influencer anymore. So basically she had a 9-to-5 job and then she quit her job when she was making more money as an influencer. And then it's been 2 years as a full-time influencer and now she's going back to a 9-to-5 job.
I'm going back to a 9-to-5 job after freelancing for 3 years and being my own boss. And here's how.
There's a vision of success that we all have become used to seeing. It appears flexible, visible, and seemingly effortless.
So yes, I made $768,000 gross salary from influencing.
And here is how much I made in April as a full-time Canadian content creator.
What I made in February as a full-time content creator living in London.
This is how much money I made as a Canadian content creator in 2024.
But what happens when that vision of success begins to shift? Because not every lifestyle we admire is built to last, just like friendships. Hi, my name is Amanda and welcome to Amanda Spice, where we don't just follow the story, but we examine what it is that sustains it. If you have been on social media recently, you probably by now have seen them. Creators speaking honestly about going to traditional work. Some mention financial pressure and others talk about burnout. Some about the need for stability. Health insurance, retirement, structure.
And I know I'm about to lose a little bit more because I am changing my platform. I'm moving my platform towards something completely different. Let's talk about it.
I'm going to de-influence you on influencing from an ex-influencer while doing my makeup right now.
Corporate life for three pretty specific reasons: money, security, and professional development. When I was creating content full-time, I was always stressed. I was really anxious. I was definitely insecure. And I felt like my life was really tangled. And I realized you can just untangle it. And that's how I untangled it, by getting a full-time job again. So the money part, very simple. I just wanted more of it. I was making money from creating content, but I was not a 6-figure content creator. I was not pulling in those kind of brand deals. And it's I was used to a specific lifestyle because I was working a corporate job. I'm working in tech. I was making 6 figures. And it's I was making money from creating content, but nothing like that. And after a certain point, it's it's cute, it's fun, but I want to make the kind of money I was making before. I'm not gonna lie. And not even just the dollar amount aspect of it, but it's also just okay, you're net 30, you're net 60, you have to chase people down for your invoices, you have to talk to accounting. I just did not like that at all. And that really, really, really stressed me out. And I want to stick to a consistent paycheck. And now that I'm working a 9-to-5 again, any money I make from content creation is incremental. I like that better. And the security aspect, I feel that's pretty obvious and that goes hand in hand with the money part. But it's TikTok was shut down. Yeah, it came back and it may get shut down again. But I just felt that was just really volatile. What's going on in the country right now is very volatile given who our president is and what's going on in the country. And I would just prefer to work a corporate job and get a consistent paycheck and not have to worry about all these other things going on that aren't really going to affect me if I have a 9-to-5 job, given my industry. And then lastly, professional development. I'm not going to lie, and I'm not speaking for anybody else here. I'm just talking about me. I felt being a full-time content creator, I felt dumber. I felt I was regressing. And listen, I read a lot. I literally have a history podcast. I read to children. I volunteer. And I still felt I just was not scratching that part of my brain that you scratch when you're working in an office, you're working with other people, you're doing different kinds of projects and solving complex issues. I just was not doing that. And I want to do that, which is why I am. The great part about having a degree and having a career before you're content creating, you can always go back to it. And yeah, my thing is, I felt I don't want to say I took a bet on myself because I was always planning on going back to a 9-to-5, but it's I took a small bet on myself and it didn't pan out in the way that I wanted to. And I felt I just hated content creating because now it's I'm not doing it for fun anymore. I'm doing it to put food on my table. And some people can do that and do it amazingly. That's why they're making all that money. But me, I just was not doing that. And so I'm just okay, Good thing I have my degree and my corporate experience so I can go back to my job. And I probably am going to talk about this in a separate video, but creating content full time made me feel really, really, really insecure because people underestimate what it does to your mind when you are making videos every day, multiple videos every single day, and you have to look at yourself. Because me, I was picking out like parts of my face and my body that I never really was looking at before.
It is important that I say this clearly. These conversations are not meant to shame anyone in any way. In fact, they offer something rare online: honesty. And that honesty deserves acknowledgement. So as I roll out the clips that I gathered from the internet from these influencers, I plead with you not to take it as a way to shame them, but to take them as ways we can learn how to do better and ways in which we can know, if you've ever wondered why it is you're only working a traditional job and the world is evolving and others are doing what seems to be easy, this is just an opportunity to learn.
Ever wonder about those influencers that you used to love watching, but you forgot about, and then you go check up on them and they really don't get as many views anymore? And you're like, are they broke now? Do they have any life skills? All they were was an influencer. Well, I am an ex-influencer and I want to tell you about what my life is like post-influencing. I became an influencer. I was kind of like an OG influencer. I wasn't that iconic. I had like 1 million subscribers on YouTube. Still have them, but I don't think nearly as many people are engaged these days because I don't really post. In the height of my career, when I was like 23, 24, I was making about $500,000 a year on YouTube. So I'm not like 500K a month like some of these like mega influencers, but that's still really good just for a kid with their camera, right? Making that sort of money. That's like a doctor or a lawyer makes that. That's still definitely like privileged influencer money, I think. I was doing really well, and then I decided to quit. I started when I was 13 and I never had any other job. I went to college for 1.5 years. I studied film and then I dropped out of that and I just made these videos. And when I started making my videos were about beauty and fashion, and it was just literally like this, like being in my room. All of a sudden I realized I was like 26 years old and I can't pretend to be making these videos anymore as if I were getting ready for school. We know those lifestyle influencers that still kind of do that, And so I decided, okay, I do need to make a change. And I had bought a house a year prior and had this feeling of, what if I did a video, I try something new. I do a video where I try and get my real estate license. So I did, I bought the test, I studied, I passed the test. And then I was like, okay, like I'm on my own. I am a realtor now, I guess. But I decided I didn't want to fake it. Like a lot of influencers, they say stuff and they're not really that true to their word. So I was like, I'm going to really give this an honest go. So I joined a brokerage, I joined a team, and I was showing up to the office. I was treating it like a real job for the first time ever in my life. And within the first 60 days, I did end up selling a house and I made the video about it and it was great. And then I started getting more people asking me to help them buy or sell a house. And I didn't want to say no to it. Honestly, the money's pretty good in real estate. It's very similar to being an influencer, right? Like you do this work and then you get paid a big chunk of money. Your taxes aren't withheld, so you do have to still like own your own business and operate all that stuff. So for a while, I kept being an influencer, making videos, and I was a real estate agent. For a couple years, I really thought, okay, I can just do both of these things full time. And oh, how naive I was. It took a couple years for me to figure out, it's just, you can't spread yourself that thin. So I thought about how when I wake up in the morning, if it's a day where I have clients to go show or I'm filming a video about real estate, something for my real estate career, I wake up and I'm so excited. There's a pep in my step. I literally, when I got my real estate license, I was so excited. I could not sleep for like 2 weeks. I had this adrenaline. It was crazy. I felt like I was just doing what I was supposed to be doing. And I was really excited to no longer be an influencer. But on days where I have to wake up and I just have to film content and talk about myself and all that stuff, I would wake up at like 10 a.m. I'd be so lazy. I would like clean my kitchen. I'd do anything to try and like put off doing stuff. And I was just burnt out. I didn't like it anymore. And I wasn't real proud of it either. So I finally decided this year, the beginning of 2024, to no longer consider myself an influencer and to not accept brand deals if I don't want to, not do any of that stuff, just do real estate full time. And we're halfway through the year and I've made more money this year than any year in the past as an influencer. So just goes to show that don't spread yourself too thin. It's okay to take a leap of faith and do something else that you think you love more once you're burnt out from something else. You know, I did influencing for like 15 years. I'm just so happy that I'm not an influencer anymore. And so check on your old influencer friends because they're probably doing okay. I bet you they're pretty happy. I'm still thankful, obviously, for everything I've had as a influencer. It, helped me like buy my first house and save a good amount of money and really get this head start in life that I never would have had. But I'm glad that I was able to take it into something else. So
for quite a long time, influencing has been presented as the dream career, the ideal career. I mean, technically, it appears flexible, highly paid, creative, and seemingly effortless. Who wouldn't want that? To be fair, for some people, it is. Just like in any field, there are those that excel exceptionally. But what we do not often see is the structure behind it, because influencer income is not linear. It fluctuates. It depends on relevance, engagement, algorithms, brand budgets, and most importantly, it depends on staying visible. Now, here's the kicker. Relevance online is highly unpredictable. You can be highly relevant this year, and next year, nobody is checking for you. That is just the reality. Not necessarily because you did anything wrong, but because attention moves. Trends shift, audience change, and platforms evolve.
This is coming from like an old school beauty content creator. I started on YouTube 14 years ago. Like that is insane. I have been here for every single era, consistently uploading, downloading every new platform, like watch the birth of TikTok. Like I remember when Instagram became a thing, I was already on YouTube when Instagram became a thing and I downloaded Instagram and like, it was like this new app and we were posting the square photos. Like I've been here for all of it. And I feel like we're in such a weird place on social media as content creators where I am like fighting. I feel like I am like trying to run through mud to connect with my followers at this point. I feel like there are so many bots and I feel like these apps are now controlling who views my videos and I feel like I get punished and penalized.
It's not surprising that many influencers cite finances as the main reason for returning to a 9-to-5. Because without consistency, financial planning becomes more complex. And this is where nuance matters. Many of these creators started young. They experienced a level of income before fully developing long-term financial habits. So what we are seeing isn't always recklessness. Sometimes it's simply youth. The difference is when the numbers are bigger, the mistakes look bigger too. But if we're honest, most people have made similar decisions at some point, just on a smaller scale. Now, let us also note that influencing has become more than just another career path. For many young people, it is actually the preferred one. We have been seeing a shift where traditional education and careers are sometimes being dismissed or even ridiculed. Yeah, I'm not kidding. There are some young people that will make mockery of a doctor, of an accountant, of a lawyer, of a dentist, of a plumber. Really, it has been happening. All because influencing appears more rewarding, more flexible, and more aligned with the modern life. But what's often missing from that perception is the instability, the lack of guarantees, the dependence on external validation, and the absence of long-term structure.
A report came out a few months ago saying that 75% of Gen Z wants to start their own business. Now, why is this?
57% of Gen Zers would like to be influencers if given the chance, according to a report by Morning Consult. The rising popularity of different platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube have created a new class of entrepreneurs called creators. And there are no limitations to being a creator.
Do all the younger generations really want to be influencers, or do they just realize that working a 9-to-5 is a trap? And they're just not willing to spend the next 40 years working to build somebody else's dream when they know it's possible to have complete control over your own time.
Everybody either want to be an influencer or a rapper nowadays, bro. Like, bro, we're going to be at a point in time where we're going to have no doctors, no chefs, no lawyers. Like, what the fuck? Like, bro, too many of y'all want to be into these professions. Like, come on, bro. We got to at least, what about the nurses? You feel me? What about the pediatricians? What about those people? I'm tired of the streamers. I'm tired of the rappers, bro. We got too many of those.
So when influencers return to 9 to 5, it's not always a step backwards. Sometimes it is a recalibration, a move towards stability, predictability, and long-term stability. In many ways, especially in the modern world, that decision requires self-awareness that we do not always acknowledge, because in the gig economy, a 9 to 5 is kind of looked down upon. And I'm just like, everybody must be residing on the internet, because who am I meeting at the office out there? Who am I meeting when I go to the doctors? If everybody is now claiming they don't do 9 to 5 and they belong to the gig economy.
I'm going to de-influence you on influencing from an ex-influencer while doing my makeup right now. About 5 years ago, before influencing was even a thing, I was an influencer. And this term influencer wasn't even a thing yet in the space, I feel like. It was like just becoming a thing. And I had a food account, or like a wellness account, where I posted all different recipes and a lot about my healthy lifestyle, what that looked like for me, and all the things an influencer does. I started posting about my life, and it was amazing because there were a lot of perks to influencing, right? You have a platform, so you're able to meet a lot of people. You're able to have a voice in this space. You're then able to work with brands and make money. And it got to the point where my account got a lot of traction, and I started to be able to make a full-time salary as an influencer. And back then, like, I was working a corporate job, and, you know, having a side income that was almost double the amount of my corporate job was just unbelievable at age 25. I didn't know what was going on. And then the brands obviously send you free shit. So it's just like, where's the cons, right? Well, I'm gonna tell you. This was amazing for a really long time. And I was like, wow, this feels crazy. Making money, it's easy, it's fun, it's enjoyable, it's not affecting me that much. Wrong. So my mind started to constantly think about when I was going to get the next shot of content. Okay. And it wasn't that I had a ton of content to shoot, right? Because with the amount of content you need to get for a brand and for your platform, it doesn't seem like much. But what I noticed was it was more so the mental chatter in my own mind regarding, should I have taken a photo there? Am I taking too many photos? Are people judging me? You know, it was just like exhausting, and honestly it just became consuming. And I started to notice how I was not present, and I was starting to overanalyze on so many things and so many things about my everyday life, because I was sharing my entire life at this point became about getting it on film, and I hated it. I then started to talk about this in therapy, and I realized that, like, as great as it is, the perks of being an influencer, it is wonderful, but you are trading in the mental chatter of filming your everyday life that for me just was not worth it. And I started to learn more about becoming present, and I got really into like spirituality and personal development. And I just started to notice, like, does being an influencer really serve me at this point? Or is it causing me to be less present in my everyday life? And that is when I decided to stop influencing. To this day, this was like a really big fucking deal in my life. I also went back to school to become a therapist myself. I just like was transitioning and didn't have the time to do it anymore. And now that I post videos again here and there and have a platform, I have decided to do it in a very different way. You know, everybody wants to be an influencer now because it creates so much freedom in your life and there's so many perks and brand trips and free shit, and you know, that's all great, but at what cost? I really feel like nobody shares this side of influencing, because when you're sharing your life constantly, there's no off switch, there's no off button. And you know, it looks extremely glamorous, but it's not feasible sometimes. Or at least for me, that's what I found. So I know everybody wants to be an influencer, everybody wants their freedom, and I totally get that. But, you know, for me, it wasn't freedom because my mind wasn't free. I was constantly thinking about, you know, content and getting content and filming my life. You know, I need to do this to get engagement. It just felt like, for what? As I started to become healthier, I was like, what is all this for? So now I just post whatever I want. I don't care who sees it, who views it, if people like it or not. I try and
Twinkle Stanley coming on the internet and being super honest and vulnerable with her audience and saying that she wants to get back into the 9-to-5 life is by far the most refreshing thing I've seen from an influencer or creator in the longest time. For years, we've just been sort of glamorizing what it's like to be an entrepreneur or an influencer and a creator and share every single moment of your life and constantly be thinking about work. I mean, yes, you get to go to brand events, get PR, work with some brands on some cool ads and things like that, and you might make a bit of money off of it, but it comes at the cost of encroaching entirely on your personal life, whether that's in a time-consuming way or in an exposure way where your personal life is basically commodified for profit. And of course, influencers don't have it in their prerogative to be super honest about these things because they have an image to maintain. They have a brand to maintain, which is themselves and their own identity. So I don't blame them for not being super honest about it. They are, in essence, the billboard. But there's one point that she mentioned, which is that in order to be able to come on the internet and have something of substance to talk about or share, you have to have a source of inspiration in your life. And when you lose touch with reality and all you're doing is waking up in the morning and opening some PR packages and staying at your computer, and you don't have colleagues or teammates or a different world to be exposed to on a daily basis, where is your inspiration really coming from? As someone who manages both the 9-to-5 and a creative side hustle, I have always stood by the fact that this balance keeps both parts of my brain active, and it exposes me to a world that keeps me tied to reality because I'm never fully consumed by one bubble, basically. And the things that happen to me at work, the conversations I have with people who are just genuinely immersed in the real world and not living in some alternate reality that only influencers and Coachella goers live in. The conversations I have with them are often what spurs the creativity when it comes to this side of things. Above all, honestly, it's just really refreshing to see someone that optically looks like they're absolutely killing it in the influencing game crave what we have as well, and what I've stood by for years, which is that 9-to-5 gives you so many amazing things that entrepreneurship and influencer life does not give you. It gives you stability, it gives you incredible benefits, it gives you colleagues, people to work with, a support system, maternity pay, bereavement leave. There are just so many wonderful things that we've just somehow been brainwashed to think that is not good enough for us. So yeah, basically, don't forget that even though the internet might be telling you that you have to be an influencer, you have to be a creator, there are so many trials and tribulations that come with any job. And just because you're not entirely enjoying your 9-to-5, it doesn't mean that any job is going to be better than that.
Hey, okay, so I just watched a video by an influencer who is not an influencer anymore. So basically, she had a 9-to-5 job, and then she quit her job because she was making more money as an influencer. And then it's been 2 years as a full-time influencer, and now she's going back to a 9-to-5 job, or just going back to doing something. And a lot of the points she made in that video was, she felt like she was doing the same thing over and over again. She just didn't feel like she was, getting excited for like life and work, and it felt boring, and it was like not necessarily easy, but it just felt like she was doing the same thing over and over again. And I've heard that sentiment from a lot of people about being an influencer. And I think the issue is the idea that people think being an influencer is a job that you can just sort of step into. I don't know. Let me explain what that means. I went to college. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree, and I was earning more money as an influencer when I first, started, and I quit my job at a nonprofit to do this full time. But my end goal wasn't to be an influencer. In fact, how I became an influencer was I started sharing things I was passionate about with the end goal of doing something with that. And along the way, influence came from it. So the idea that people start thinking influencing is a job, it's just weird to me, because you share your passions online. That's how your favorite influencers become influencers. Whether they start sharing comedy videos, or they start sharing their favorite makeup brands and makeup tips, or they start sharing how they excel at this particular thing. You sell something, or you're sharing something about your passions. People see that passion and want to follow you because they're influenced by how excited you are about the things you're sharing, and they want to learn from it and then do it whatever they want to do with it. Because of that, it shouldn't be boring. Right? And I was explaining it shouldn't be boring, because you can do more with your passion. Like if you want to do makeup, then you can create a nonprofit for young girls who can't afford makeup. You can go to school to do X, Y, and Z with it. You can create your own makeup brand, work with different makeup companies. If you're a comedian, you can start going on tour, join the Daily Show. I don't know. Like there's so much to do, where the influencing isn't the cap. It's just the byproduct of the thing that you're sharing about your life that people enjoy, that will catapult you to the things you want to do for yourself. Does that make sense? So I don't like that she said, people will start talking about how being an influencer is like this or that, because you're creating your own world. You have the capacity now to create the life you want for yourself based off people buying in to the things that you enjoy and you want to do. Capitalize on that. Don't work for somebody else, but if you want to, of course, do it. But
Everything that she's saying in that video is so true, and I want to chime in on this because I've actually quit my job to be a full-time creator, and there's a lot that I learned. While I definitely don't think it's impossible to be an artist or a creator without a job, it's definitely helpful, because at the end of the day, being a creator or an influencer is running a business, and to run a business, you need money. So I would say it's either important to have a job while starting out, or if you have other skills and talents that you can leverage off of, sell products or services that can make you money consistently, so that way you're not dipping into your profits as an influencer or a creator. Not only that, but it's going to really help you be more selective with certain brand deals that you want to take versus taking anything and everything that comes your way because you feel like you have to. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's wise to have one source of income regardless, so you need to have multiple streams of income.
Something I'm seeing a lot of in the creator space is content creators going back to a corporate job setting, so like a 9-to-5. And I feel like a few years ago that would have been totally frowned upon. It would be like you failed becoming a full-time influencer. But I personally think it's smart. My work is focused on content creators building a business from their influence. And of course, brand partnerships tend to be a big piece of that pie. Not necessarily my choice. That's just where the big money comes more easily. Otherwise, you have to like launch your own products and services, which some creators are a little bit slower to even build the trust up for that, let alone build the thing. Another way a lot of people tend to monetize is by getting paid by the platforms, basically becoming monetized. And a lot of that relies on you continuing to go viral so you get the numbers to get the money. It can tend to be a little bit up and down. I truly believe if you have a job that gives you balance, then those are just your first angel investors. They are the ones funding the dream, so you don't have to worry about financial stability while building the dream. Also, if you're someone like me, I feel like entrepreneurship can be exhausting, and the regular schedule of working in those settings can actually be beneficial for some people. So yeah, do what you need to do to actually feel like you have balance in your life and you feel safe in your life, because the best creative ideas are probably going to come from that headspace. Good luck if you're job hunting. Bye!
Influencing is not inherently good or bad. It's simply a career with its own structure, risks, and rewards. But just like any career built on visibility, it has seasons. And not every season looks like success. So perhaps the real takeaway is not whether influencing works, but whether the life built around it is sustainable or can be sustainable. As more and more people speak honestly about their experiences, we are given a more complete picture, not just of success, but what actually comes after it. And let me know if you are a parent, if you do hear your child wanting to abandon getting an education, learning a skill, would you be behind them being a full-time influencer as a career choice? Let me know in the comment section what you think about that. And thank you very much for tuning in. If you do like conversations like this, do remember to hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, because every single Saturday there will be a new conversation that we engage on in this channel. Until my next one, see you. Now, you guys, we made a deal and you guys delivered. You were complaining about my spatula, and I told you that if you got me to 8,000 subscribers, I would get an actual microphone holder. And guess what? Today we got it. So in the next video, I will be using the microphone holder, but I will still keep my spatula on standby to knock some sense into some of you that don't want to listen to the realities of life. Yeah, I didn't come up with that. One of you gave me the idea that the spatula could be useful if some of you don't want to accept reality. Yeah, a billionaire is not coming. Stay mad. I'm joking, you guys. Let's get back into the video.